the creatine side effect nobody warns you about. What if I told you that the most surprising creatine side effect isn't bloating, weight gain, or even stomach discomfort? In fact, it's something that almost nobody talks about. Creatine is one of the most popular supplements in the world. Millions of people take it to support strength, muscle growth, and workout performance. But while everyone focuses on the benefits, very few people talk about the unexpected changes that can happen along the way. Some are physical, some are mental, and one side effect catches people completely off guard. Today, we're uncovering the creatine side effect nobody warns you about, along with 7 other surprising things that often happen after people start taking it. And trust me, you'll want to stick around for number 8, because it's probably not what you think. But before we begin, drop your name and the city you're watching from in the comments below. Alright, let's get started. Number 1. Hydration suddenly matters much more. Did you know creatine has a funny way of exposing poor hydration habits? It's true, many people start taking creatine and suddenly notice things like headaches, fatigue, low energy, or that sluggish feeling where they just don't seem to perform at their best. Naturally, they point the finger at the supplement. Creatine must be causing this. But in many cases, that's not what's happening at all. One of the reasons creatine works so well is that it helps muscles store more water. As your muscles become better hydrated, your body may need more fluids to keep everything functioning smoothly. The problem is that many people continue drinking the same amount of water they were drinking before they started creatine. Their body's needs have changed, but their hydration habits haven't. As a result, symptoms like headaches, tiredness, or feeling run down can start appearing, and creatine gets blamed for something that may actually be caused by inadequate fluid intake. The good news? This is one of the easiest creatine-related problems to fix. For many people, simply paying closer attention to hydration can make a huge difference. More water often means better energy, better workouts, and a much smoother overall experience. That's why experienced creatine users often treat their water bottle like part of their supplement routine, because creatine and hydration go hand in hand. The interesting part is that creatine isn't necessarily creating the problem, it's simply revealing a habit that may have needed improvement all along. And once that habit is corrected, many people discover that the solution was much simpler than they expected. Number 2. The scale may change before your body. Have you ever stepped on the scale, seen the number jump up, and immediately felt a wave of panic? You're not alone. In fact, this is one of the most common experiences people have when they first start taking creatine. A week or 2 goes by. They hop on the scale, and suddenly they're a few pounds heavier than before. Their first thought is often, am I gaining fat? But here's the interesting part. In most cases, that's not what's happening at all. One of creatine's primary jobs is helping your muscles store more water. As your muscle cells become better hydrated, they naturally hold on to additional fluid. That extra water can show up on the scale surprisingly quickly, often before you've noticed any significant changes in strength or muscle growth. The result? The number on the scale goes up, and for many people, that's enough to cause concern. But the scale doesn't tell the whole story. What's funny is that your body composition may actually be improving at the very same time. Your muscles may be becoming more hydrated, your workouts may be getting better, and your training performance may be improving, even though the scale suggests you're moving in the wrong direction. That's why this is one of the most misunderstood effects of creatine. People see a higher number and automatically assume something negative is happening. In reality, it may simply be a sign that creatine is doing exactly what it's designed to do. The lesson: don't let one number tell the entire story. Pay attention to how you feel, how you perform, how your clothes fit, and how your body responds over time. Because sometimes a heavier scale doesn't mean you're moving backward. Sometimes it's just part of the process. Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, wait, do my muscles look bigger already? If so, you're experiencing something that surprises a lot of new creatine users. Interestingly, some people notice changes in their appearance before they notice any major improvements in strength or performance. Why does that happen? The answer has a lot to do with water. One of creatine's primary functions is helping your muscles store more water inside their cells. As those muscles become better hydrated, they often take on a fuller, firmer, and more pumped appearance. The effect can happen relatively quickly, sometimes within the first couple of weeks. Now, before you get too excited, it's important to understand what's actually happening. No, you probably didn't build several pounds of brand new muscle overnight. Real muscle growth still takes time, consistent training, proper nutrition, and patience. But visually, the difference can be surprisingly noticeable. Your arms may look a little fuller, your shoulders may appear more rounded, your muscles may simply look healthier, firmer, and more defined than they did before. And for many people, that visual change becomes the first sign that something is working. What's even more interesting is the psychological effect. Seeing a fuller physique in the mirror often creates a boost in confidence. People feel more motivated to keep training. They become more consistent. They start paying closer attention to their workouts and nutrition, and that extra motivation often helps create even better long-term results. So while the fuller look may not be pure muscle growth, it can still be incredibly valuable, because sometimes seeing progress, even early progress, is exactly what people need to stay committed to the journey. Number 3, your muscles may look bigger, surprisingly fast. Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, wait, do my muscles look bigger already? If so, you're experiencing something that surprises a lot of new creatine users. Interestingly, some people notice changes in their appearance before they notice any major improvements in strength or performance. Why does that happen? The answer has a lot to do with water. One of creatine's primary functions is helping your muscles store more water inside their cells. As those muscles become better hydrated, they often take on a fuller, firmer, and more pumped appearance. The effect can happen relatively quickly, sometimes within the first couple of weeks. Now, before you get too excited, it's important to understand what's actually happening. No, you probably didn't build several pounds of brand new muscle overnight. Real muscle growth still takes time, consistent training, proper nutrition, and patience. But visually, the difference can be surprisingly noticeable. Your arms may look a little fuller, your shoulders may appear more rounded, your muscles may simply look healthier, firmer, and more defined than they did before. And for many people, that visual change becomes the first sign that something is working. What's even more interesting is the psychological effect. Seeing a fuller physique in the mirror often creates a boost in confidence. People feel more motivated to keep training, they become more consistent, they start paying closer attention to their workouts and nutrition, and that extra motivation often helps create even better long-term results. So, while the fuller look may not be pure muscle growth, it can still be incredibly valuable. Because sometimes, seeing progress, even early progress, is exactly what people need to stay committed to the journey. Number 4, your workouts may feel different. Have you ever finished a workout and thought, wow, I probably could have done a little more today? That's one of the most common ways people describe their experience after taking creatine consistently for a while. What's interesting is that the change usually isn't dramatic. You don't walk into the gym and suddenly feel like a superhero. You don't instantly double your strength or crush every personal record overnight. Instead, the difference is often much more subtle. Maybe your workout feels a little smoother than usual. Maybe you're recovering a bit faster between sets. Maybe you managed to squeeze out one extra repetition when you normally would have stopped. Or perhaps you notice that your energy holds up better toward the end of your workout instead of fading as quickly as before. At first, these improvements can seem almost too small to matter, but that's exactly what makes them so powerful. Those extra reps, slightly stronger sets, and small improvements in endurance start adding up over time. One better workout becomes dozens, one extra rep becomes hundreds by the end of the year. And before you know it, those tiny advantages have contributed to meaningful progress. That's why many experienced users say creatine doesn't feel like a sudden transformation. It feels more like removing a small limitation that was holding them back. The benefits tend to build gradually, often becoming noticeable long before major physical changes appear in the mirror. And for many people, that's one of the first signs that creatine is working. Not because they suddenly feel superhuman, but because they're consistently performing just a little better than before. And over time, those small improvements can lead to surprisingly big results. Number 5, digestive issues sometimes come from user error. Now let's talk about a creatine side effect that gets misunderstood all the time. Some people start taking creatine and quickly notice bloating, stomach discomfort, or digestive issues. Naturally, their first reaction is to blame the supplement. But here's the interesting part. In many cases, creatine isn't actually the problem. The real issue is how it's being used. A lot of beginners fall into the trap of thinking that bigger doses will produce faster results. They read about loading phases online, grab the biggest scoop they can find, and assume more must be better. Unfortunately, their digestive system doesn't always agree. When large amounts of creatine are taken at once, there's a greater chance of bloating, cramping, or stomach discomfort. Then the supplement gets a bad reputation for something that may have been caused by excessive dosing rather than creatine itself. The funny thing is that many experienced users take a much simpler approach. Instead of trying to rush the process, they stick to a reasonable daily serving and let consistency do the work. And for many people, that approach feels much better. Less bloating, less stomach irritation, less frustration. The truth is that creatine isn't a supplement where taking twice as much automatically means getting twice the results. In fact, trying to force the process often creates unnecessary problems. That's why one of the smartest things you can do is keep it simple. Take an appropriate amount, stay consistent, and give your body time to adapt. Because when it comes to creatine, patience usually works better than excess, and sometimes the best results come from doing less, not more. Number 6. Your expectations can become your biggest problem. Here's something that almost nobody talks about. Social media has created some incredibly unrealistic expectations about creatine. Scroll through your feed for a few minutes and you'll see dramatic before and after photos, transformation videos, and people claiming that a single supplement completely changed their physique. After seeing enough of that content, it's easy to believe that creatine should deliver life-changing results within a matter of weeks. So people start taking it with sky-high expectations. They expect bigger muscles almost immediately. They expect dramatic strength gains. They expect endless energy and visible changes every time they look in the mirror. Then reality shows up. A week passes, then 2, and they don't feel dramatically different. Suddenly, frustration starts creeping in. The problem isn't that creatine isn't working. The problem is that many people are comparing real life to social media highlight reels. The truth is much less exciting, but much more realistic. Creatine works gradually. It helps support performance, recovery, training quality, and muscle function over time. Its benefits tend to build quietly in the background through consistent use, regular exercise, proper nutrition, and patience. You might notice an extra repetition, a slightly stronger workout, a little less fatigue, and a little better recovery. Those improvements may seem small at first, but they compound over weeks and months. That's where the real results come from. Not overnight miracles, not magical transformations, just steady progress built through consistency. And honestly, that's what makes creatine so valuable. Because while hype fades quickly, habits that support long-term improvement can keep delivering results for years. Number 7, you may become more consistent without realizing it. This might be one of the most powerful creatine side effects of all, and it has very little to do with the supplement itself. It starts with something small. Maybe you notice an extra repetition during a workout. Maybe your recovery feels a little better. Maybe your muscles look slightly fuller in the mirror. Maybe you simply feel stronger than you did a month ago. At first, these improvements seem minor, but something interesting begins to happen. You start believing that your efforts are working, and that belief changes everything. Suddenly, you're more motivated to show up for your workouts. You stop skipping training sessions as often. You pay closer attention to what you're eating. You start drinking more water. You become more intentional about sleep and recovery. In other words, your habits begin improving, and those better habits often create even better results. That's why this effect is so powerful. The supplement itself may help support performance, recovery, and strength, but sometimes the biggest transformation comes from the behavior changes that follow. When people start seeing progress, they naturally become more invested in the process. They stay consistent longer. They make healthier choices. They develop routines they can actually maintain. Before long, they're achieving results that go far beyond what any supplement could create on its own. It's a positive cycle. Small improvements create motivation. Motivation creates consistency. Consistency creates results. And those results create even more motivation. That's why some of the biggest benefits people experience aren't found in the supplement container at all. They're found in the habits, confidence, and commitment that grow alongside it. And honestly, that may be one of the most valuable outcomes of all. Number 8. The side effect nobody warns you about: confidence. And now, let's talk about the side effect that almost nobody mentions. Confidence. Not because creatine magically changes your personality, not because it suddenly makes you fearless or transforms the way you think overnight, but because progress has a powerful effect on the human mind. Think about what happens when your workouts start feeling better. You notice yourself lifting a little more weight, you squeeze out an extra repetition, you recover faster than before. Maybe you look in the mirror and see a slightly fuller, stronger version of yourself staring back. Or perhaps you realize that everyday tasks, carrying groceries, climbing stairs, staying active throughout the day, simply feel easier than they used to. Those moments matter because every small improvement sends the same message. Your body is capable of getting better, and that realization can be incredibly powerful. As strength improves, confidence often improves too. As performance improves, confidence follows. As people begin seeing evidence that their efforts are paying off, they become more motivated, more consistent, and more optimistic about what they can achieve. For many users, this ends up being the most valuable benefit of all. Not bigger muscles, not heavier lifts, not even better workout performance. It's the feeling that progress is possible. The feeling that age, setbacks, or past frustrations don't have to define the future. That renewed belief often spills into other areas of life as well. And honestly, that's something no supplement label can fully capture. Because while creatine may help support physical progress, the confidence that comes from seeing your body improve is something far more meaningful. And for many people, that's the benefit they remember most. So, what's the creatine side effect nobody warns you about? For many people, it's not the physical changes at all. It's the confidence, motivation, and consistency that often develop alongside the physical benefits. Of course, creatine isn't magic. It still works best when combined with exercise, good nutrition, hydration, and realistic expectations, but understanding the full picture can help you avoid common mistakes and get the most from it. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever taken creatine? And if so, what was the most surprising effect you noticed? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more honest health and fitness content without the hype. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.